culture war, culture war, culture war. I love the culture war. Don't you love the culture war? Ooh, trans bathroom bills. What else we got? Ooh, women's rights. Amazing. We love the culture war, don't we? You know, how many gay people should exist? Is too many gay people? You know, all of the world's greatest questions have come up in today's culture war that the right has been raging on every other normal human being who just wants to exist in the world. But with that being said, they're losing, obviously, because that's what conservatives do. But they're holding on to the idea that the culture war is an actual thing that people really care about outside of Twitter and Parler, 4chan, and internet forums online and YouTube videos talking about how big the boobs are on the kids' TV show Reboot from on a show from the 70s and stuff. That's one thing, right? But they hold on to the notion that they're actually like the vanguards. You know, conservatism is the new punk rock. By the idea that you've probably seen the meme. It's like the it's like the it's the two Wojaks, all right, and it's one and it's got like pink hair or whatever, and it's like I'm the resistance, right, and then it's like all of the corporations behind them during like February or what's gay Pride month, like July or something, when they turn all their like logos pink and my bad, like rainbow and black for February and for Black Pride, for like Black History Month and Gay Pride Month. So it is true. One thing, June. All right, thank you for stopping my racism. I'm glad that I was able to figure that. I knew it was one of the J months. It was one of them. Leave me alone. Anti-straight month. Yeah, that's what it really is. That's culture war for you. I lost my train of thought. I found my train of thought. So it is true that corporations have been kind of hitching themselves to the idea of social progressivism. And one of those companies has been Cartoon Network. Now, Cartoon Network is extremely interesting because they actually have a couple of restrictions on progressivism. Actually, if you didn't know, if you haven't seen it, there's no like outwardly homosexual relationships that usually go on Cartoon Network shows. For one reason, it's because it's actually banned. You can't do it. There's a reason why Marceline and the Bubblegum Princess didn't have like an explicit relationship in Adventure Time when it was playing on Cartoon Network. When did it air? Like 2007, 2009. Adventure Time's it's kind of old. It's because they banned it, right? But they're making some moves, at least on a superficial level, just showing some things, and that can even be helpful as well. So here's one thing. If you guys didn't see earlier today and throughout the day, Cartoon Network has been trending, is because the Chuds and a lot of other people on Twitter have come into contact with some anti-racism posts that Cartoon Network has been making on TikTok actually for a little while. And let me show you this one because it's actually not too bad.
These textbooks are incomplete. There were black Roman warriors, black medieval knights, black classical musicians, black cowboys, black fighter pilots. Where are they? I worry about you humans because you only live, about 100 years? You rely on these stories to know your own history. Thanks to systemic racism, most of your storytellers prioritize white accomplishments, which leaves you with an incomplete picture. Ask yourself as you're learning history, who's telling the story? Was this modified to make white readers comfortable? Are major details being left out that would credit people of color and center their point of view?
So yeah, it's like it's one of the characters from Steven Universe, right? Hey, listen, if anybody has watched Steven Universe, let me know what character that is. I have literally no clue. I think in my entire life I've watched maybe 10 minutes of Steven Universe, like all together. But yeah, that's Pearl. It's Pearl. Thank you. I appreciate you. I knew one of you nerds would know it in chat. Thank you. So that's Pearl, who just got off of the phone with the base department talking about systemic racism. And that's amazing. That's really cool. And it's true that in this country, we've always had like a very Eurocentric idea of history. because it's usually written by the winners and the people in power. And right now, Europe and America, big Eurocentric countries, are in power. So because of that, the flow of narrative for history in total flows through a very Eurocentric lens. It's like thinking of all of the events in the Middle East through the idea of like the King James Bible, where we're in the middle of what today is Afghanistan, and like Israel, and people are like white, which just is not true. It's just not true. I'm sorry. It's just not true. So the war that conservatives, the one thing that I want to bring off. Okay, before we get into that, don't take this as a sign of companies actually having real values to be good, and moral, right? It's not true. Listen, the right loves to take things from the left. All they do is steal. They're thieves, all right? And I love law and order. Law and order. So it's my time to give things back. The term virtue signaling is a left-wing view of the world. It's a left-wing term that refers to things like corporations, companies, CEOs going woke. Okay, I remember specifically there was a massive article and I forget which company it is specifically, but a chemical company that was known for polluting environments, especially in impoverished places, got their first ever gay CEO, and they were like, "Wow, guys, look, we're breaking the glass ceiling is so cool, dudes. Look," and I mean that's cool and all. The gay people are doing doing things out there, shaking their dick, having a good time, but that doesn't really stop the polluting. The gay dude probably still likes polluting as much as the other CEO did. And just because they're going woke per se doesn't mean that if things were turned and the right was actually winning, they wouldn't be putting out like culture war, pro Donald Trump, MAGA forever, America #1 videos if they thought it would make them money. The only thing that stops them from doing that is making money. It's not the Cartoon Network executives or whatever who are doing a lot of this, right? Who are making those, who have those like big drives to make the shows themselves have morals of the story that tend to lean towards left-wing values. It's the people on the ground, the visionaries, the creative people, drawing up the characters, voicing them, acting them out, breathing life into them that makes them the way they are, right? But virtue signaling is the idea of these corporations making themselves look more progressive to people to gain brownie points among the populace, to make them kind of forget about all the bad stuff that they've been doing, right? It's like having a really cool video game, so people kind of and like doing like, oh wow, gay rights, trans rights, my dude, isn't that so cool? While trying to bog down the how much press the story of them underpaying and overworking their game devs was, right? So that's where that is. And conservatives take the part of, oh, these companies don't actually care, which is probably true. They probably don't actually care. But take away the class and the social element of it, and the intersectional element of it, which is which is the other part. So they did another one as well. Here's this one. I thought it was super cool.
1, 2, 3. Hey, when we're older, let's get married. Ha! You can't get married. Why not? Black people can't marry white people.
Okay, listen, I'm sorry. Listen, I'm sorry. I just every time I see that one, it is I don't know. It's just so freaking funny, dude. Anyways, what? Yeah, so that's yeah, just casual Nazi kid from down the lane. Yeah, in that video there, please. Yeah, that's it. That was the whole video. That's it. That's all that happened. No, and then and then I'm pretty sure the other characters from Steven Universe come in and say, hey, little Susie, that's not okay, so. They're kind of cringy. They're a little bit cringy because it's coming from a corporation, but I know for a fact the people who created and wrote and put together Steven Universe actually care about these issues that's baked into the show. So Cartoon Network just allowed them to do things like this. Controversial, yeah. The Nazi kid broke me. You all know the guy. You're just holding hands with one of your friends from another racial demographic, and everybody knows racist Susie from down the lane comes by to judo chop your hand holding to tell you about the glory of segregation and anti-miscegenation laws. So, but the right are losing the culture war. Every time they get up in arms and yell about this, it's just another dying gasp from the corpse of the fighter for conservative values or something that the right had put up in this great gladiator match that is the war on culture, right? The war on where our culture goes and what it does and how much it conserves, right? And you see a whole bunch of conservatives starting to really wake up and be like, our ideas aren't really that popular in the real world. And it's kind of funny because if you look on the ground, people and you ask people, right, what do you actually care about? And what's your policy position on a lot of hotly contested political issues? Most of the country wants a single payer healthcare system, or at the very least, a government run healthcare insurance plan. Most people want that. They really do. Most people want things like legalization or decriminalization of marijuana and decriminalization of lots of drugs to stop people from just being thrown in jail for having some drugs on them while they're driving. You know, lots of people want things like stricter gun laws. The right loves they're protecting our Second Amendment rights. You know, most people don't want just like their Walmart. You know when Halloween is about to hit and Walmart puts out those big crates of like pumpkins. People don't want that, but with like ARs, just like ARs and it's like a little grab bag. You know those when you're walking in stores and they have like the big thing that has a bunch of bouncy balls in it and stuff. You can just grab one. People don't want that with just guns. They don't. As much as the right want you to believe that they do, they don't. They don't want it. They know it's not good. It's not good. They're losing the war because that's what conservatives always do. Culture will change. People will update. We're moving more in the way of egalitarianism because that makes more sense to make people equal, right? They're trying to conserve values that help their specific hegemonic group. Usually that's men, usually that's white people, but not always the same. Or the people who can identify with that group enough to feel like it's worth voting for them or supporting their values. This is, just from Cartoon Network, in and of itself, just as a thing in and of itself, not meaningful. But the fact that it's here, the fact that it's getting so much support, and the fact that it's getting so much pushback from the right shows that they're losing. They are losing. Trans rights are a winning issue. Gay rights have been enumerated and protected by the Supreme Court. That's over. Things like abortion rights, that fight is basically over. And, obviously with a more conservative Supreme Court, some things can change, but the fight is not going in their direction. And as time moves on, we're moving further away from those sorts of positions and further away from more like traditionalist values, not because we just feel like it, but because they're bad. So I'm happy that we can have stuff like this, have even the idea of bringing the idea of systemic racism or gay rights or trans rights or lots of these sorts of social issues onto the foreground and into the living rooms of lots of average homes of people who work 9 to 5s, who don't have all the time to read through like feminist theory and Das Kapital and the conquest of bread to really find out about a lot of these ideas, to just kind of give it to them on a platter that really makes sense in the same way a kid can understand it in a kid show. So I think that's really cool.